The hinges groaned as the front door swung open, and the air in the living room seemed to freeze solid. My husband, David, stood framed in the doorway, the faint light from the hall outlining his tall frame. In his hand dangled a paper grocery bag, trembling, the faint clatter of bottles inside cutting through the silence like a warning shot. His eyes, usually soft, warm, and steady, were wide, unblinking, fixed on the man seated beside me. James. My coworker. His hands hovered just a fraction too close to mine on the couch, a closeness that suddenly felt unbearable under David's stare. Sarah, David whispered, my name fractured and fragile on his lips. What is this? His voice cracked, thin as glass about to shatter. His gaze jumped from me to James, searching for something, an explanation, an anchor, that I couldn't give. Every detail of the room pressed down on me. The walls lined with our wedding photos. The quilt his mother had made, stretched across the couch like a relic of trust now desecrated. Even the candle burning on the coffee table, lavender, David's favorite, felt cruel, filling the air with a calm that mocked the chaos inside me. James's faint cedar cologne clung to the space between us, making my stomach twist. My heart hammered against my ribs, treacherous and loud. I remembered every excuse I had fed myself. The long hours David worked, how he collapsed into bed too exhausted to notice how restless I had become. I told myself lunches with James were harmless, his messages just a distraction. But the truth was there, undeniable, in the way his laugh had made me lean in too close, the way his attention lit something inside me I pretended was missing. Now, under David's stare, those excuses disintegrated into dust. I can explain. I stammered, but even to my own ears the words sounded hollow. James shifted uncomfortably, his knee brushing mine. The contact burned and I recoiled. David's hands slackened, and the grocery bag slipped from his grasp. Apples scattered across the hardwood floor, rolling into corners with dull thuds, like fragments of a life breaking apart. Explain. His voice rose, raw and torn between fury and despair. You're here in our home with him. What's left to explain? James stood quickly, hands raised in practiced calm, like a man trying to talk down a storm. David, it's not what it looks like. His smooth voice only made me feel sicker. I wanted to scream at him to shut up, to not make things worse, but my mouth was dry, my throat locked. David gave a short, jagged laugh, bitter as iron. Not what I think. Then why is your jacket on my chair? Why is my wife looking at you like that? His eyes cut through me. I remembered the first time James's touch had lingered too long. At the office party, his hand brushing my arm while David, oblivious, stood across the room singing my praises to colleagues. I told myself it was nothing. But nothing became coffee breaks, dinners, texts I hid, until finally, this. David, please, I whispered, rising to my feet, my hands trembling. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything, I swear. But even as I said it, I saw in his eyes that he didn't believe me. Maybe he never would. Maybe I didn't either. He stepped closer, and the scent of rain clinging to his coat reached me. His face, lined with anguish, looked years older than when he'd left that morning. A mistake? His words were low, sharp, devastating. 10 years, Sarah. 10 years. And you call this a mistake? He didn't shout. That was the cruelest part. His voice was soft, broken, the voice of someone mourning a loss he'd already accepted. He turned to James, his gaze hard. Get out. James hesitated, then snatched his jacket and slipped past him, silent. The door slammed behind him, leaving a void in the room that pressed heavy against my chest. The silence that followed was unbearable. David's shoulders sagged as he lowered himself onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. I waited for rage, accusations, anything. Instead, he spoke with a voice so quiet it was almost lost to the crackle of the candle. I saw the text last week. His hands trembled. I kept hoping I was wrong. My heart tore open. He had known. He had carried this knowledge quietly, still coming home with groceries, with wine, with hope for us. I thought I could fix us, he murmured, tears slipping between his fingers. But you already made your choice. He rose slowly, like the weight of the world clung to his body, and reached for his keys. Without looking at me, he walked to the door. When it closed behind him, it was soft, almost gentle. but it ripped through me louder than any scream. I stood frozen, the room around me unchanged yet unrecognizable. Our life together remained in photos, in quilts, in the flicker of the candle. But David was gone. And I was alone, surrounded by everything we had built, haunted by the love I had destroyed.